Honestly, just to be blunt and put it out there, I was pretty nervous going into the game, just not knowing exactly what to expect from the guys after that pause. But they couldn't have answered that question any better. They were locked in though. Today at shoot around, and they were asking questions. The eye contact was there the whole time, and they were giving input. They clearly watched the film on New Mexico and understood and respected those guys when the majority of them were in isolation. So just incredibly proud of them for going out there and playing as hard as they did with one game each week's not easy, and that's what they've done the last few. So we just need to keep the momentum going tomorrow and Thursday, and getting ready for a really good Fresno team.
When did you find out you'd have everybody available for this game?
Today. The testing kind of continued throughout the days, so we were talking about it in the locker room. I don't remember what day it was, but there was one day where we were preparing to go stand in a 2-3 zone with 7 people up in Air Force, not knowing, and then things changed and we weren't able to play the game. And so the guys adjusted though. We had more guys go in, a couple come out. It was a little bit of a revolving door, but the testing continued, and then so it was kind of, it was a little bit of a weird feeling. Kind of went from, what's going on, how many we're going to have, what are we going to do, when's the next time we're going to play, to almost just like everybody there in what felt like the snap of a finger. So, but it was good, and they showed that they didn't lose too much in isolation. So that was great to see as well.
And then you mentioned they watched the film on New Mexico. Did they have to do that kind of by themselves rather than what you would have done, a couple weeks ago as a team watching opponent film? Yeah,
they did, because the prep was altered, of course, with the guys being out. But the guys watched the film, but the difference was they came out of isolation talking about House and Mashburn and how good they are and aggressive they are and how they can make plays. And the way they all watched the game against Utah State, because I had a handful of them text and call me about the way Johnson had played. And then we had one guy talk about, Josh Baker mentioned that, Jenkins can really shoot it as well, like just because he didn't shoot it a bunch last game. So they were really, really in tune and locked into that. And they've done a good job of that all year. I think it was just a little more heightened maybe to me, because I wasn't sure, we didn't have our hands on them every day. And when we send them stuff in isolation, there's no way of knowing without quizzing them if they watched it, but they clearly took that ownership of that preparation for New Mexico, because they were locked in pretty good.
Would you give them a quiz?
Maybe I should. No, but we'll ask questions from time to time, and they, some of them get offended when you ask because they're ready. That might not be a bad idea. I'll have to find a quiz maker on the internet.
Kevin, this is a New Mexico team that hasn't had a lot of success this year, but they have been able to score points, right? They've been able to put up points all year long. And what was your approach and your staff's approach defensively in this game? Because you obviously had a tremendous start there, 6 minutes basically, where they didn't score a point, and then kept them under 30 points in the second half.
Just keeping the ball in front. That's something we've been highlighting and continued. The guys have continued to get better at. I didn't think early on in the season we were staying in front of the ball like we were capable of. And at some point it clearly has clicked, because they've taken that personal challenge of staying in front. And even Donovan Williams even brought up before the game when we talked about, he brought up some of the other college games he had watched today. And how those guys, they guard as if there's nobody else around. And they take that pride in staying in front of the ball. And those are what the great defensive teams do. And I just think with those guys seeing House and Mashburn and the way they play and the way Johnson had shot it, and knowing that even though we let Jenkins go in a little bit, knowing that he was capable of shooting, I think they recognized it. They were frustrated with him, the way he got going, but I think they just knew. When you watch guys like House and Mashburn, you know that those guys are really tough to guard, because they have a lot of freedom and they're incredibly talented, both hands. They shoot it off the dribble with confidence. So they knew that, though. They talked about it in every huddle. They talked about it in pregame, shoot around, some FaceTimes that we had throughout the last few days. So I think they've gotten better at it, and they've really just taken the ownership of it.
Coach, do you recall in your playing days or coaching career practicing with 7 guys, and how weird is that, and what is that like for you from your perspective?
You know, it's funny you say that because we talked, we weren't even full staff there for a little while, but we talked about even the holiday break as a player was always that window where it just felt like for some reason you always had a handful of guys not feeling well out, and it almost didn't feel like real. You know, you've got a couple guys out, so the mood is different, the number of people in the gym are different, but yeah, when we basically went back to individual workouts there for a few days, it was definitely different because you're in a routine and you're in a pattern, and then all of a sudden, just like that, you're back to just a couple guys. And the worst part is, I think they could almost sense my anxiety of not knowing because I can't tell them anything. I don't know. You know, I don't know when we're going to practice full strength again. I don't know who's coming out and when. And but it is different, and it is different as a player because you know you're in team mode from October, whatever the first day of practice is, and then all of a sudden it's almost like you're out of team mode for a few days, and other guys are playing, other teams are playing games, and other teams are practicing. So it's unique.
How frustrating is it for some of these guys when guys are out? They're usually sick or they're injured, but when you're asymptomatic, you feel fine, but you can't play. How difficult is it from a coaching staff to explain that to these kids? Listen, I know you feel fine, but you can't play. Like, it's weird, right?
It is, and there's a little frustration because they want to play, but it was kind of odd because I talked to Royce actually, and he had some frustration in the way that people have to be out if they're asymptomatic, and you know, and all of what goes into isolation, but there wasn't ever he never said, you know, this is dumb, or you know, such and such doesn't know what they're doing. Like, what are they talking about? There was still a respect for the protocols that are in place to keep everybody safe. So the frustration just came from just not being able to play as a team, and we understood that. But that was also unique because usually somebody would take a shot at someone of they don't know what they're doing or this is dumb or whatever. But that never came. They understood it. The guys that were out, and then they came back ready.
Kevin, you had talked about how they kind of took ownership of the game plan and watching film on their own. And it's funny how things kind of present themselves. Does that make you think that maybe you want to do some things differently as far as preparation week by week or day by day? Can stretching that rope out a little bit and give them a little bit more slack in it, or absolutely not?
No, you must have talked to Curtis Terry because he also asked the same question about maybe more days off are in order. But there's probably some truth to that. You know, as coaches, I think you know we're used to the amount of time that we put in, and this has got to be this way. But that's our life. You know, outside of our family, that's all we don't have classes. We don't have
exactly.
You know, I mean, we don't have those other things we have to worry about. And but there's probably some truth to that. But like I said earlier, I think it was just a little more heightened because even though we ask them to watch film on their own, we send them the games that are on TV, we like to discuss with them. We always know they're coming back to the arena or to Mendenhall, and so we're going to talk about it, you know. So we've always we don't really, like Tyler asked, we don't quiz them before we start practice. We just kind of cover what we wanted them to know anyway. But this time we didn't have that ability to do that because we couldn't see them the next day or in the following day. So. But I think this is again, it's an older group, as I've said. They know what it's supposed to look like. A bunch of guys have been to the NCAA tournament. They know what the preparation and the daily life is like, and I'm hoping that they recognize that this is a good way. This was they took the ownership of it. They had input, which we love because they're the ones out there seeing it and feeling it, and we'll kind of challenge them to do that again going into Friday. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Kevin, Donovan was 29, last 5 games, almost 22 a game, 60% from the floor. How good of a groove is he in now, and how much of that is based on, you know, what kind of feel you have for his strengths and what kind of feel he's starting to have for you in this offense and what the expectations are? Oh, yeah,
I'll take all the credit. It's all me. No, I mean, Donovan's obviously he's talented. He's got a skill set. He's unique. He covers so much ground. But I think as much as anything, it's just kind of the relationship between the team and understanding where he can have an impact. Because as I mentioned out with CT and John, I thought there was even a couple he caught. He could shoot, But he doesn't. He pump fakes and he drives and he creates another opportunity, a shooting opportunity or a paint touch for a teammate. And I think he's just playing right now with a level of confidence and security that, the ball's moving. It's going to find him. It's going to find energy. It's going to find aggressive players, and he's taking good shots. He's as much as anybody. I think he's eliminated a lot of the shots that are low percentage for the group. The surprise shots as we call them, and he's thriving. He's patient, but he's still aggressive at the same time. And we couldn't be more proud of the way he's kind of taken the adjustment of being somewhere for 2 years, playing a certain way, and then kind of falling into the fold of the team and how things are going, and it's paying off for him individually. But as you see, it's also paying off for us as a group.
We've talked so much about the last 10 days, but let's talk about the next 2. How excited is this group to get back into that routine?
Oh, I think, they love it. They love being in the gym. If you go, of course, now we got to be a little more cautious of who all's going through Mendenhall, but there's always a ball bouncing in there. And if it's not a ball bouncing in there, they're downstairs in the lounge watching games, or they're in the training room getting treatment with the TVs going. And they're just a group that loves to be in the gym. They like to be around each other. They enjoy, we don't have a guy on our team as a staff that we don't feel we could sit down and have just normal daily conversations with, or could be around our kids, our families, and we enjoy being around them. But I think they're ready to get back to that routine a little bit. A couple of them have morning routines they can now get back to, some afternoon and night routines after team dinner where they like to shoot that a handful of them weren't allowed to do because they were in isolation. So as I said earlier, they were frustrated, but not with the protocols in place, but because they couldn't be in the gym. They wanted to be in there and playing. And but now that we can get back to our normal routine, I think we'll be excited for them and happy for them tomorrow. All right. Thanks, guys.
Fellas, congrats on the victory. Can you just walk us through what the last 10 days have been like for you guys dealing with the COVID outbreak and just how everything came to fruition today?
Man, it was big. It was huge for us to just come back together, get back on the right track. This past week, we had several guys go down, including some staff. So just when we could get back together the last 2-3 days, we just tried to emphasize playing together, playing the right way, getting back to what we know how to do. I mean, we didn't win out. Unfortunately, we didn't win our first conference game, so we're just trying to get back on the winning track, knock down, get all the pieces down, just trying to build our camaraderie back again.
Yeah, how were you guys able to prep for this game, not knowing who was going to play? And when did you find out everybody was going to be available?
Well, I'll speak because he was actually out. So I don't know if I was supposed to tell that information. I'm sorry. But I think for us, we really didn't know. Like, we didn't know how the San Jose State game was going to go. We prepared to go in the Air Force with 7. So I think once we got the clear that we actually was going to play this game, we went to practice and we was just like, even that day we got the information, we still had 7. So we was just like, well, nobody cares. Like, that's been our whole mantra all season. But Coach Kruger especially, like, emphasized it over this week because he's like, nobody cares if we lose because we're down 7. We only have 7 players. So I think for us, it was just a mentality of we're going to go out and play and give it all we got, whether we have all our pieces, whether we don't. But once we found out that we had them, we was like, well, it's back to business as usual. So we just prepared the normal way that we usually do, 2 days, and I think we did a good job.
Donovan, for you, your last 5 games averaging almost 22 a game, shooting 60% from the floor. How are you feeling more comfortable in this offense at this point?
I think I give a lot of credit to Vic and David. They've come along so much over the last few months or so that, at the start of the season, I kind of had to play big a lot. I was banging down there, guys 250, you know what I'm saying? But now, going back to the wing, going back to my natural position, I think it's just natural. Like, I can't even sit here and say, like, I go out there and I try to do that. Like, I just go out there and I just play basketball. Like, that's just what I do. That's just what I know how to do.
Donovan, how was practice when you guys have 7 players or less?
Short, actually, and it was actually great. It was 7 players. We went in for about an hour. We got some drills in. We went over what we thought the other team would come out and run. We went over some things that we were going to try to do to, lessen that gap of having 7 players going up against a full team. But at that point, it's not really much you could do. It's just like you just got to have 7 guys that really want to win at that point.
Royce, did you think Donovan was going to get that alley-oop in the first half from Bryce?
I didn't think I was going to get it.
Man, I was actually trailing the play. When I seen him caught it with one hand, I was like, you better finish it. And then he put it down, and I just turned around and I just screamed. That's all I could do. So it was an exciting play.
Royce, another double-double for you in this game. Do you feel like you don't need to be like an offensive guy? You can do all the other stuff and kind of like chip in all the other areas that this team needs?
For me, my biggest thing is just doing whatever I need to do to help the team win. And I think playing in this league, I think, and being for this team, I think our team really needs me to rebound and do all the little extra things like bring our team energy. Of course, I feel like I can score the ball, but I'm not really a selfish guy. I don't look into going into the games trying to score. I just do whatever my teams need me to do to win.
Mm-hmm. And as far as that 12 will start at the beginning of the game, this is for either guy. That 12 will start at the top of the game. Do you guys attribute that more to the layoff in terms of obviously the break in terms of the defense, or do you guys actually want to give credit to you guys in offense considering you guys not having a full practice?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a credit of our defense and of us having the anticipation to want to get back out there and play, missing a week, coming out kind of fired up, and also with us just over the last couple of days coming back together and building, like I said earlier, building that camaraderie and just making the right play. We emphasize getting in the paint, getting the 2 feet, making the right pass for each other, and just try to take shots that we want to take. So I think all those attributes and all those things going together, it led us to a great start.
And we understand that the staff obviously wants to emphasize the defense on Jalen House and
Yes.
Jr. But in the locker room, obviously the team wanted to stop them as well.
Exactly.
What was the conversation between the team?
As much as like I play defense or we play offense or whatever, I think our identity this summer, fall workouts, all that was defense. And so I think in the stretch of the season, we kind of got away from that, and we let teams, go on big runs and score and all that. But I think coming into conference, like we really like kind of buckled down. And I know me especially, like I take on that challenge. Whoever the other team's best guy is, like I tell these guys every time, like I'm gonna take him on. Whether he has a good night, what was it, San Diego State game? I just try to make him inefficient, and I think that's the one thing with defense that people don't think about. Everybody looks at the steals and the blocks, but I think for me and the guys that play defense, like we kind of try to look at it. I know me especially, the way I think about it. It's just if a guy is a scorer, I try to make him take as many shots as he possibly can to try to get his point average. So I think like with defense, like we're just in the locker room and I take on that challenge. Royce takes on the challenge of guarding the big man, not letting him get the rebound. Bryce takes on that challenge. Jordan takes on that challenge of guarding the point guard. Josh Baker takes on that challenge. So nobody on our team wants to be the weak link, and I think that's what propels everybody to give a little bit more effort on the defensive end.
Agreed.
Did you, because of the COVID protocol, did you guys think you came out more fired up and more hungry to play tonight?
Absolutely. I know. You got him.
I know me. I was, during COVID. This was my second time having it, and I was just bored. Like, I had no symptoms. I was fine. I felt great. So I was just sitting in the house bored, watching a lot of film. So I know the first time I got back on the court, I told myself I wouldn't take this for granted. I mean, basketball is a precious game, and someday the ball will stop bouncing. So every time you get out there on that floor, you got to cherish every moment. So that's what I decided to do tonight.
And we also got a week break.
And can you describe how your team kind of came together in response to this, and how you guys?
It was really, it wasn't really hard because we've kind of been going through it for about a year now. So like when everybody got it, and throughout the week, like more guys and more people in our organization start to show up with it. It was kind of like, all right, we've dealt with this for a year now, so now we kind of know how to like move in. So now we're not like running around with our heads, cut off, just thinking like what we're gonna do next. But I mean, we just got together and we just went to the gym. The guys that could go to the gym, we practiced, we worked hard. The guys that couldn't, we talked to them. Their heads were still right. And I think, like he said, like the guys, none of the guys really had any like crazy symptoms. So I mean, for the guys that didn't have COVID or weren't in quarantine, like we kind of just got a week break to get our legs back under us after that San Diego State game. And I think we just kind of rested up, and we really were fired up because we missed 2 games.
Missed a whole week of playing.
Missed a whole week of playing and practicing.
Thank you, guys. For sure.